Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Prophecy Code Lifestyle Podcast. Today it is me, Danika, and Coach Fatima. Welcome again, because I couldn't get enough of you, so I decided to have you
Oh,
on again.
I love that you couldn't get enough of me, and I'm so happy to be here, Danica. So thank you so much for the opportunity again.
Of course. So it is what time where you're at right now?
So it is just after 5:30 in
I'm
the afternoon.
always like, I am beyond grateful for technology for these reasons because
Yeah, yeah.
I just think it's amazing that you're in like South Africa and I'm in New York. And
Well, I would like to swap with you because it's like 90 degrees Fahrenheit in South Africa at the moment, and I was looking at the clothes that you were wearing when you walked in, and I was like, oh, it looks so nice and snuggly while I'm sweating my entire life away here. So
oh my
I'll do a
goodness.
switcheroo with you any
I
day.
feel like people say this all I work with a couple of clients like all over the place, but
Yeah.
um they're always like, do you have a lot of like snow and how great is it? And it's 28 degrees right now, so
Yeah.
I'm like, I am frigid. I'm done. This is around the time that like the Northeast is like tapped out.
hmm
We're done with the cold. And around the time that other people who experience a lot of warmth are like, and I'm done. Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, yes, there
I'm
should
so
always
out.
be a switcheroo. Yeah.
Absolutely. So you're welcome to come down here for a safari, and I will do your calls in New York.
I would love to. How amazing would that be? I might sign myself up. Last time that you were on, you had your husband on too, and we were able to really just get to know you guys a little bit more and then learn about a very special transformation that you both were able to provide and gift to a couple, which was amazing. So, it was awesome just to hear your story as well. And I wanted to kind
hmm
of be able to open up a little bit more on that. I find that, especially for lifestyle podcast listeners, being
hmm
able to, with a little bit more intimacy and detail, understand the workings of a coach and what their story is and what
Yeah.
drives them. Like what drives them. I mean, you've made changes in your life that were pretty significant,
hmm
not just physically, but I think that, mentally, emotionally too, there was probably more shifts that happened as well. You made a
Yeah.
career change, which was just going in and going after it. And I find
Yeah.
that so admirable. Many people fear change. I think it's human nature to fear change when there's uncertainty. I just
hmm
read, I just heard about a study how people actually will have more anxiety when they know that there's a 50% chance of getting electrically shocked as opposed to 100% chance of getting electrically shocked. So
Yeah.
when you that uncertainty of like I too probably would if I was like, "Oh, you're going to shock me? Let me have it. No anxiety. I know
Yeah.
it's going to happen, right?" But you
Yeah.
going into your career change, did you know what was going to happen?
Hey guys, Coach Lexi here. I wanted to take a moment to give a special shout out to our sponsor of the podcast, Angel Competition Bikinis. I don't know about you guys, but one of my favorite parts of show day is getting all glammed up, and that includes putting on my suit. So, fun fact, I've actually worn Angel Competition Bikinis for all of the shows I've ever done. So, this is probably my favorite suit to date. I absolutely love it. It's beautiful. And Angel Competition Bikinis is so gracious in offering our podcast listeners a special incentive. So listen up. If you visit acbikinis.com/code, you can get a free set of posing socks and a free design package with a ton of free fabric swatches. And if you want to go ahead and move forward and order a suit, you can use the discount code LexiM for a special discount on your order. The quality, the fit, and the customer service with Angel Competition Bikinis is absolutely unmatched. matched. And one thing amongst many things that I love about the company and the brand is the two owners, they're twins, they've actually competed themselves. So they truly get how important the suit is to a competitor on stage. So don't just take my word for it. Order your free design package today. It'll be in the show notes as well, and enjoy the rest of the podcast.
Absolutely not. And I must just tell you, it was the most terrifying experience of my life because if I just, and you're completely right, just in the way that you've explained it, because the real anxiety about this whole thing is not knowing what's going to happen next, where you're going to end up, what is that going to look like? Are you going to be successful? Are you not? Is this, it was like experiencing an ego death. It was
Yeah.
like experiencing an ego death because my entire environment had changed around me. Everybody that I worked with, everybody that I knew, connections that I'd built for many years, and just like walking away from that and going, you know what? I'm going to be an online coach. And people were like, okay, that sounds interesting. And I was like, just watch, just watch.
Yeah. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. What was, so talk to me about your career before.
Yeah. So I have probably about 15 years of corporate experience before this,
Mhm.
where I have only worked for multinational companies. So I'm actually very used to working in different time zones. That's why walking
Okay.
into physique was super easy for me. And my last role was as a country franchise head for a global contact lens company. So essentially, I was like, reporting into the general manager at the time, and it was a lot of responsibility because I was involved with, making sure that we met sales targets, making sure that I managed the sales team, the marketing team, the
Mhm.
training team, customer services, those sorts of things. So it was a very multi-layered position, but I cannot tell you the amount of stress that I had in that role
Mm.
because you're managing so many people's different emotions. You're managing so many people's different careers. You're managing the company's objectives. You're managing yourself because I
Yeah.
was, coming out of this phase where I had just started with my transformation at Pro Physique, and I was like, how am I going to fit all of this in? There's only so many hours in the day.
Right.
So I think the transition for me was really rough because it was like I was going from a very set particular routine to like walking into this environment and this industry, mind you. I mean, my husband's a bodybuilder. He's been in this industry for a very long time. So I'm obviously very familiar and aware, but it's very
Mm.
different once you begin working in here. So I took like a couple of months to kind of just use discernment and figure out what's happening here? Where do I fit myself in it? What does that look like for me? What feels good to me too? Because I'm
Mhm.
also managing my own nervous system and my own anxieties.
Right.
So it was a difficult transition, I must be honest, but a very worthy one because I cannot imagine myself being anywhere else now.
Yeah. Yeah. What was, I guess, the moment? Do you remember like a certain moment that you were like, I'm going to pull the trigger and I'm going to give him my notice and I'm going to go
Hmm.
all in? Or was
Yeah.
it gradual? Did you build up clientele at the same time of like slowly transitioning out of your previous profession?
Definitely not. So, how it actually happened was Matt and I were supposed to immigrate to Belgium. So, I had gotten a
Oh,
role within the company and I was traveling to Belgium quite a lot. I would say like once every 3 weeks at that time. And while I was doing it, just imagine now the travel component on top of the fact that I was changing a job within this
yes.
company. And we were like, we're all in. We're going to move to Belgium. This is going to be amazing. I'm going to be a European citizen. Great.
Yes.
And while we were doing that, unfortunately, we actually had somebody in our family that got ill at the same time.
Okay.
And it was a bit difficult for us to make the move. We were like, look, we're going to prioritize. We're going to be here for family, right? So it was kind of something where I almost feel like the universe had yanked me out of corporate and said, no,
Mm,
no, this is where you end. And when I was thinking about all of the things that I wanted to do next, like what was the next step, I really wanted to operate from a place of joy because what when I was thinking about my life and all the things that I'd done, I mean, I had great skills. I could have gone to any company and stayed within the same sector and the same industry. But I
Mhm.
kept thinking about what I had done with Pro Physique in terms of my transformation. And I loved the confidence and the person that it built me into that I started thinking about it and I was like, I think I could really do this, but I first want to educate myself. So of course,
Okay.
you go through the process of like doing NAMs, starting to study exercise physiology and those sorts of things. And it just felt very natural to me. And it
Mhm.
was such a great fit because my husband was already doing it.
Right.
So I would be like learning in a space where he's super comfortable right now. He has great skills. And I was like, well, let me tap into this wealth of knowledge and put my wife ego in my pocket because I'm going to be learning from my husband. And it's been great from that perspective. I'm so grateful because at least I know, like I said, the initial reason why I chose this route was because it excited me. It excited me.
Yeah.
It brought joy.
Yeah. How old were you when that happened?
I was around 37 or 38.
Yeah.
I'm
So
39
that's
now.
when
Yeah.
like many people I find feel very stable or grounded in their career typically.
Yeah.
Um, they've had years under their belt, they've established themselves, they know the rhythm, they know the routine, they know the ins and outs of like whatever profession they're in, right? They know how to navigate the stressors because they've dealt with them before. Um,
Hmm.
there's not a lot of uncertainty that can come with it,
Correct.
right?
Yeah.
Um, I love though that I also find that many times this is a place where people have this reflection of, and I know all this, and there's solid
Hmm.
ground, and is it bringing me joy?
Yeah.
And I love that you were able to lean into joy, even though
Hmm.
it was paired with uncertainty. Like it was
Yeah.
almost like I know uncertainty is going to come with this, but the joy and excitement and the fulfillment that I feel from it is
Hmm.
is better than the certainty I'm getting without joy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what's interesting about this is that it kind of reminds me of any client that is walking into a body transformation with us, especially if they've never been coached before, and
Mhm.
especially if they're a lifestyle person, because you don't know what the process is going to look like. And I always think about myself when I get a new client, I'm like, remember who you were at that time
Mm.
when that happened to you, because you don't know what it's going to look like. You don't know the end outcome. It is blind faith, and the only thing that you can count on is your work and what you input into the process, right? So it was exactly the same thing. And I think if I'm truly, truly honest, it changed me as a person because I think a lot of times in life, especially with females, we kind of, fall into roles very quickly in our lives. So we would go, okay, I'm a mother now. This is
Mhm.
exactly where I am. This is my role. I'm comfortable with it. Same thing with a professional career. I was comfortable and sometimes breeds complacency because, like you said, you can do the things on repeat without even thinking about it. And to make a decision like that, you actually have to break yourself down as a person and say, I need to strip all of these layers that I
Mhm.
thought were my identity before and kind of like walk into the new era and go, okay, creation of new identity. What is that?
Yes.
And that's
Yes.
the exciting part.
It is. It's probably one of the most frightening parts too, because it means that the identity that you have held on to is something that
Mhm.
you now have to release a little bit. And so there's a part I think that comes with the uncertainty. There's also like grieving a little bit that comes in where it feels unsettling because it's who you know yourself to be. And so
Mhm.
you become so accustomed to that. Like, but this is part of my identity. I find this to be a, this happens a lot with clients, lifestyle clients, but also I would say competitors too, when they're
Mhm.
transitioning from this competition world and they're coming out, they're like, but this is all I know myself to be. This is
Yes.
part of my identity, and it's so deeply woven into my tapestry. I don't really
Yeah.
know how to, unravel a little bit. And I always say to them, you don't have to. Like, the beautiful part
Yes.
is that it can just be you. If we think of it as, well, this isn't who I am forever and ever, if we just think that this is part of my book, like I'm writing my life book, and that was beautiful chapters in my life book, and you know what? Now I get to turn the page, and the page that I turn allows for me to reflect on my identities that I established. And
Mm,
it's a fresh page. Like I can, how exciting is it to be able to create this new identity that brings me joy. And yes, it should be scary, right? Like I feel like
mhm,
sometimes we confuse fear or anxiety a little bit because it's the same feeling as like inside our body, it's the same feeling as excitement. And
mhm.
so we only feel it though, or I guess perceive it as this like fear. Like I think it's just I'm anxious, I'm fearful. You're also probably just really excited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of these experiences are about reframing your thought pattern, like
Yeah.
how you perceive the experience to be. Because I think you touched on something really important in the beginning, which is that nobody really warns you about the amount of mourning that there is in growth.
Yeah.
Nobody warns you about that. So you walk into these experiences, you have no idea what to expect. And like I said to you, it does. It feels like an ego death because you're stripping away all of these layers about you.
Mhm.
But I like what you said because reframing that thought pattern away from anxiety and more towards this is excitement.
Mm.
This is new. This is so I think that that framing is really, really important in anything that you're doing. It's not just about your career, it's not just about fitness, I think with anything. And what I'm trying to like lean into, particularly now in this like phase of my life, is just the gray space. Lean into the gray space.
Yeah.
Lean into the areas where you don't know what's going to happen, but also at the same time, don't struggle for control. The minute this is exactly the byproduct of anxiety, right? You feel anxiety because you're holding on to something. You're holding on to control. You feel like I mean, I think I told you this before we started the call, like missing a gym session this week. I have
Mhm.
lost a little bit of control in that element, but there's also a fragment of surrender and going, okay, so I've surrendered, I've lost that, but now what can I do here? I can
Right.
still salvage my week. I can still, continue to do all of the great things that I want to do, but it's that framing, reframing rather
Mhm.
in the
Yeah.
mindset that I think is super important.
Yeah. I think going there too, I've mentioned this a few times on the podcast, but I have a lot of my mindset clients and lifestyle and competitor clients too
Mhm.
go there in their fear, and I want them to take me there. Like walk me through those thoughts that are happening and take me to those fearful places because usually some can be a little outlandish and they're not
Mhm.
legitimate at all. And then though you're able to kind of visualize it a little bit, experience it in your body to prepare you if something were to happen, right? So, say for
Mhm.
instance, like you are doing a transformation challenge or you're going into competition, you're just making some lifestyle changes and you're like, I'm really fearful that I am not going to hit the goals that I want to hit. And then I'll say, okay, so what if that does happen? Then what? Like,
Yeah.
did we completely lose? Like, is there like that's the end game and like that's it? Or is that another opportunity to reflect and maybe change and
Mhm.
tweak a few things and pivot? What if also, what if you succeed? Like,
Mhm.
why can't we explore that? Like, what if we can say, what if it doesn't work out? And at the same time say, but what if it does? Like,
Mhm.
you can have
I,
both simultaneously.
yeah, I'm so on your page, Danica. And I think that just from the human condition. Anxiety, if you have to define anxiety, 90% of the time, we're thinking about experiences that are never going to happen. 90% of
Mm.
the things that we think are going to happen are never going to happen. So
Yeah.
our brain is constantly searching our environments and scanning it for threats and
Yeah.
bringing these threats up. And just because they're being brought up doesn't mean that they're true,
Right.
right? So
Right.
I I think I love what you're saying about like bringing in that, but what if it does? But
Mm.
what if? And then what? Will you die? No, you
Right.
won't. I
Right.
mean, your ego might be hurt, but like you'll get over it. You'll be
Right.
okay. Right?
Exactly.
So yeah, it's so nice to hear you actually talking about anxiety in that way because it is so true in terms of the stories that we tell ourselves, the narratives that we create. Half of them are never ever true. There's
Right.
no substance, there's no proof. There's absolutely no proof that that thing would happen, but we lead ourselves down that road.
Yeah. Yeah. What was your biggest fear, I guess, or narrative that may not have
Mhm.
come true when you made that career change for yourself?
So it was kind of a big one because of the fact that obviously at the time Matt already worked for Pro Physique.
Hmm.
Matt deals with a lot of competitors, right? So I would say predominance, most of his clients are competitors. My coach, Paul, was, in the competitor space, really, really solid. Olympians are popping up on his stories. And I recall like feeling like I was going to move into the space and not be able to add value
Mm.
because think about from where I came from. From where I came from, I was overweight for a very long
Yeah.
time. And I struggled with my weight for, I would say, like 20 years of my life in terms of just grabbing the reins and actually understanding the ways of the Jedi that, Pro Physique is teaching all of our clients. So for me, it was kind of like uncomfortable because I was like, am I going to be credible in this space because I'm not walking around looking like a bikini athlete shredded 24/7?
Mm.
Is this going to be a difficult space for me to be able to grow a reputation in? And it actually was not as terrifying as I thought. And I think on the other side of it, I've actually received so many compliments from the fact of, people reach out to me every time I post and they're like, you give me hope. You give
Mm.
me hope because you did it. You were there. You had all of these insecurities about your body, about your mind, about your weight. You did that, and then you changed that into education, and now you're teaching it in empowerment.
Yeah.
So it's really nice to see that part of it come out and go, oh, great. I actually can do this in this space and teach people valuable skills because I did it.
Yeah. Tricky question.
Ask me
How
anything.
how how much do you think aesthetics play a role in our profession as a coach?
Hugely, hugely.
Mm.
I would say like honestly, probably about 80% of it because I actually recall this from a Lane Norton podcast. He was actually talking about the same thing where he was saying if he's, for example, preparing for a powerlifting meet and he knows he's got to be in great shape for that powerlifting meet, his business does better. The minute that he's in the
Mm.
off season and he can see that he's not, looking exactly the same way, or he's trying to grow muscle in that off season and he's maybe a little bit fluffier, he could tell that his business wasn't doing as well. So I think it's very true of our industry. I'm sure you feel the same thing.
Oh
Like
yeah.
there is also pressure on us to
Yep.
always, keep our physiques looking at a certain level. Or what if you go on vacation and you pick up a couple of pounds? You feel like a fraud, right? So,
Yeah.
so so I think it's definitely super dominant in that perspective. And also, there's a lot of people that are not, they don't have any certifications in our area.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
sometimes what I'm finding is, particularly in the lifestyle space, just because
Yep.
somebody looks nice, or maybe they've had they're a super genetic outlier. They've never
Yeah.
dieted one day in their life, and now suddenly they're a coach. It's very difficult for me to actually be in those instances because I'm like, this industry is beautiful. Like you could honestly change so many people's lives,
Hmm.
but just make sure you're doing it with the right education and not because you're only looking at the physicality of someone.
Right, right. Absolutely. Do you feel, because I think I've battled with this a little bit too, of it's kind of like a job responsibility in a way to uphold certain aesthetics, but then I'm like, well, it's not necessarily the aesthetics. Like the aesthetics come because I'm upholding the behavior changes that
Yeah.
I'm and the habits, like the healthy habits that
Yeah.
I'm embodying, create this aesthetics that I can bring, I guess, out to the public. But then
Hmm.
there is this pressure I feel too that what if I did want to be a slob kebab? Like, what if I did? And like, what if I just wanted to do that? But then, like, so I also go through this like internal battle. Like, sometimes I'm like, what if I just didn't really want to care anymore? And I'm like, but then you're not embodying the things like you are not engaging in the habits and the lifestyle changes and the choices that you are actually educated in and teaching
Hmm.
right? So I think that like it's not just about the aesthetics. I think the aesthetics
Hmm.
come because of like the habits that you're like they both kind of play into each other. Um,
Yeah.
and you're right, because some coaches can absolutely look the part, but they're not
Hmm.
engaging in the actual habits that we are trying to encourage others to do.
Yeah, and it kind of kills me from that perspective
Yeah,
because it lacks authenticity. It lacks
100%.
authenticity. Like
Yeah.
I look, I don't want to be a slob kebab, but I can give you I can give you a very real life example of what happened to me when Pro Physique hired me. So I finished with corporate. I began my studies. I was super pumped. I think, and also at the time I was lean, but probably not as lean as I am now. And the week that I got hired by Pro Physique, I had just been diagnosed as perimenopausal. And I had
Mm.
gained 10 pounds, or I think it was actually, no, it was more than that, about 15 pounds. Just trying to understand that initial diagnosis, like a lot of things had changed with my body and my hormones. And I was very confused because I was like, hey, what's happening here? I'm in a calorie deficit. How am I gaining weight? And then I got hired as a coach, and I was like, nobody's going to believe I'm a coach. I look like I'm slob kebab. I look like slob kebab right now. And then, and how will I explain this to people to be
Mm.
like, hey, I just got hired from Pro Physique by Pro Physique, and I'm perimenopausal and I've just gained some weight and I'm trying to figure that out. So it was just an inconvenient timing, but another experience where in our industry something may happen. You may have a health challenge, something may change. And suddenly maybe your aesthetics changes with that. And there is
Mhm.
so much pressure for you to look the part, to live the part, but also maybe being honest about what you're experiencing and
Right,
saying, "Hey, look, it's perimenopause. Let's go on the journey. Let me tell you what this looks like." So it is a
right.
good opportunity for from that perspective, but I was so conscious about how I looked. I was like, no one's going to believe me. I'm just going to wait this one out for a little
I'm
bit.
just gonna wait this
Just going
one.
to wait.
How, so great segue. How did
Hmm.
how did you find out that you were at that hormonal place? Was it you going and addressing things, or did a health professional say and mention it to you?
So I was working with Paul at the time.
Mm.
And what had happened was I came back to him and I was like, Paul, I've just quit my job in corporate. I feel like if I'm ever going to compete, it's going to be now. So let's go into competition prep. And he was like, I'm
Okay.
so excited. Let's do this. So we were, I think in the beginning stages, I want to say like we were 20 weeks out. We had began the protocol. And every week from 20 weeks out until about 16 weeks, I was gaining 2 pounds
Oh,
every week. And I was like, wait. wait, something is
Mm-hmm.
wrong. So I reached out to Paul and I said, look, I think I'm going to go get my blood work done. I don't know what's going on. I just feel so tired. I cannot explain to you what's happening. And please note, I'm sticking to my calories. So
Yeah.
I was in a
Yeah.
deficit and I could not understand what was happening with my body. Anyways, I went to my healthcare professional, did my blood work, and it was a general practitioner that I went to. And I, at the time, remember getting the results. I had zero detectable testosterone and zero detectable progesterone. So that
Mm,
was like, I would say, immediately the first two red flags. And so
yeah.
my healthcare provider said to me, look, why don't you just get off the pill and go home and you'll be fine? Mhm.
Oh.
And I was like, no, no, no. Linda,
No.
Linda, listen, honey, okay. We need to talk because here's what I'm experiencing. And I was very, very forceful with the fact that I don't think you understand what I'm talking about because
Yeah.
I cannot sleep at night. My hair is falling out. I have zero energy levels and I know my work ethic. I know how I've been my entire life. Why can I not wake up in the morning? There is
Yeah.
something definitely wrong here. And it was like a weird journey because I then, she sent me to a specialist and said, look, I will send you to a specialist. I want you to go there and we'll figure this out. At the time, I was actually working with somebody who was looking at my blood work because I wanted to understand it. I
Yeah.
didn't know. I'm a female. I don't know what
I
my
love that.
testosterone, yeah, like what is my testosterone supposed to look like? I don't
Right.
know.
Right.
So I was working with someone just to help me interpret the blood work. And the person that I was working with was like, you need to go back and you need to advocate for yourself because you should be on HRT at this point. You
Mm.
cannot live like this. And I was like, okay, great. So I went back and I advocated for myself. And luckily for me, it was a great result because I was put on hormone replacement therapy, which
Yep.
was quite a shock in the beginning for someone who's not a competitor to have to do testosterone injections once a week because that was
Mhm.
the format that was used here in South Africa. And I was like, oh my gosh, am I gonna get jacked? Like, how does this work? Am I
How
gonna
does this
walk
work?
around? I mean, I'll take it, but like, explain it to me, right?
Yeah.
So I started the protocol on hormone replacement therapy, and then after that, it was just like being consistent with checking my blood work every 3 months because it doesn't just
Mm.
end there once you get hormone replacement
Right.
therapy. You need to constantly check your levels because perimenopause makes your hormones do that, right?
All over the place. Yeah.
Yeah. So super consistent with doing that. And luckily for me now, a year later, I'm not on any hormone replacement therapy. My hormones have actually normalized. They are working absolutely fine. But it was a horrific experience as a female to go through
Mhm.
because I think right now in the culture and the climate that we're in, there's a lot of conversation about it. We're
Right.
seeing it happening, where they're changing the labels on estrogen, for
Hmm.
example. And
Yep.
this is really positive and it's good, but it's taken us so long to get here.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Absolutely. Do you, at that time, were there other lifestyle changes that you incorporated in conjunction with HRT?
Yeah, so look, I think for the most part, because of the fact that I was already in the coaching process, I mean, I was generally very active. I was still doing a lot
Yeah.
of steps. I was eating really like good foods because I was
Yeah.
in competition prep, right? So I had no time to mess around. And for me, the habits were already there. There wasn't much
Yeah.
that I needed to do. I think the only thing that I would say that I concentrate on a lot more with myself and also with my clients now that are experiencing perimenopause is looking at rest and recovery.
Mm.
Because the one thing that I'm finding is that if you are not sleeping at night, and when I say at all, sometimes that does happen, that some people don't sleep at all, and some people are maybe
Yeah.
sleeping for like 4 hours, right?
Yeah.
But that has like a ricochet effect on everything else, on your
Yeah.
digestion, on your energy levels, on your motivation, on your mindset. So for me, I think I was just a little bit more intentional in terms of my sleep hygiene, my sleep routine, being more strict about something like that because it made a world of a difference to me while I was trying to keep everything else intact. Because if I could
Yeah.
manage the sleep, everything else was just going to fall into place.
Yeah. That's incredible how, because I find that many women that I speak to, all except for one actually, when they do go on HRT, they stay on HRT. So to come off of
Hmm.
HRT is very interesting that like you were able to kind of just jumpstart everything else. Like you were like, hey guys, like come on, we got to do this. Like here, I'll help you. I'll give you a little bit of assistance, but I need you to do it on your own. And then your body was able to kind of be in a better place to support that production on its own. I also
Yeah.
find that I've had clients that have gone on HRT, specifically like a pellet. One ended up doing injections, and it was the opposite. Like negative things came from it, and she got
Mhm.
better. It was almost like um, it shocked the system a little bit, and then the system was
Mhm.
like, "Oh wait, we could do this on our own. We got this." And then her body was able to get back into like a good rhythm and good sync. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, that's interesting that it happens like that for you.
Absolutely. And I think it's different for everyone. Like I'm
100%.
I'm watching, and it's like coaching, right? It's not everyone's going to lose body fat in the same way. I think with hormonal challenges, it's exactly
Yeah.
the same thing in that you never know what to expect across the spectrum. And that's why it's so difficult for people to work with perimenopausal and menopausal
Yeah.
women because we are complicated and we are not
Yes.
the same.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I I like what you said though about addressing the lifestyle component as well. Because for someone that has never worked with Pro Physique, for example, that are not doing active lifestyle changes, that may
Hmm.
be listening to this podcast, I want to caution them against some of the information that is out there on social media because I went down such a terrible rabbit hole, Danica. I love information and I
Mm.
love like educating myself. And I remember going online and finding like perimenopause specialists. And I was like, wow, I didn't know there were so many these
Yeah.
days, but
Yeah.
okay, and some of the information that I was receiving was like totally inaccurate. Like, for
Yeah.
example, I remember reaching out to a perimenopause specialist who was selling an ebook on how to grow your boobies with chickpeas.
Oh.
Yes. So you can consume chickpeas and grow boobies. I mean, why didn't you tell me?
Oh my
Why
gosh.
didn't you tell me this earlier? I mean, half of the
Seriously.
planet would have saved themselves so much money if we
Right?
just ate
If
chickpeas.
we just
So,
did chickpeas. Oh
so
my
in
gosh.
my brain, it was such a frustrating process because I'm like, how is this happening? Why are there charlatans here? Why are
You
you?
know that there are some people where we just bursted their bubble and they're like, but I have cans upon cans of chickpeas in
I
in my
mean,
pantry.
yeah, and I'm sure their assets have grown. Surely you must have taken
Oh
measurements. I'm very
my
happy for you. But this type of thing exists. I
God. It
mean,
does.
it was so scary for me because I'm like, who do you trust then? Like, where do you
Who?
get your information from? Like,
Yes.
like I had an experience with a doctor who said, no, no, don't worry, you're gonna be okay. And I had to advocate for myself. So there was a little bit of like mistrust in the medical
Oh my
system.
God. Yes.
And then I'm looking at the information that I'm getting about perimenopause, and I'm also like, where
Who?
where do I just want to be a healthy woman. Like,
Right.
where do
Right.
I go?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. And I think that that is so defeating sometimes when people are like, I mean, the same goes with coaching, right? Like coaching in general. And people are like, I just want to make some lifestyle changes, but like there's too much information out there and half of it
Mhm.
is not accurate. Being able to be very selective, especially when it comes to such an important part of your well-being, I find like do your research really, really like think logically about things, right? Like, I
Mhm.
hate to break it to you, but I don't think chickpeas are going to grow some titties on anybody, but
No,
probably not.
no,
The
no,
same as like tofu. Like, I don't think that tofu is going to do anything. But
no.
But I think that it's really, I'm very hopeful that there are companies out there. I know one that I really enjoyed was MIDI Health, and that is an
Mhm.
online company. And then His and Hers is another one. As long as you're like, ask questions,
Yeah.
like when people come to me, I want them to interview the crap out of me. Like I want them to
Yeah.
know the ins and outs of my operation. How do I work as a coach? You should do the same
Hmm.
for any medical professional or healthcare professional that's working with you in whatever capacity that might be. But you advocating for yourself, saying like, no, 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 like that's not gonna fly. It's not gonna work. Like I'm
Hmm.
worthy of more information and more legitimate information, and there has to be some changes that happen. I think that time, patience, um, ability to embrace like maybe more confidence like in oneself to say this is
Hmm.
something that doesn't feel good. It might take
Yeah.
time for me to make these adjustments and changes, and it might take energy and patience and conversating a lot. But as you can see, like with Fatima, it was worth it.
It's totally worth it.
Yeah.
And you know what? Don't be afraid to get a second opinion too, or a
Right.
third, or a fourth. It doesn't matter.
Right.
This is your livelihood and your quality of life. And if you're going to
Yeah.
fight for something,
Mhm.
always fight for your quality of life.
Right.
Especially as females, like women are doing a lot these days. They've got
Hmm.
jobs, they've got kids, they're dog moms, they're working, like there is a lot. And I
Yeah.
feel like, particularly in the medical system, it's really nice to see now that there is an awakening. There is a
Yeah.
movement in trust and in a lot of research that's going into it. So
Mhm.
also just take it upon yourself to take the accountability for your own well-being. You want
Yeah.
to feel good. You don't have to live like that. I think that's like the shocking thing to me is how often I see clients like walking into the process and I'm like, have you ever done your blood work? Because I can see all of the same things happening in their
Yeah.
biofeedback that was happening with me.
Hmm.
And when I ask the questions around, maybe check your hormones, it's still a very controversial issue because there's
Yeah.
been such a stigma towards hormone replacement therapy, and there
Yeah.
shouldn't be.
There
There
shouldn't
shouldn't
be.
be.
No,
No.
I totally agree. All of the things that you have been able to accomplish, you've, there's been something, like something inside of you that, like, you didn't accept just staying stuck.
Mm,
And what do you think that is? Is there like something that you cling to, like a belief, or is there someone like an external factor? What is it that allows you to continue to follow through with, I don't like this, I'm going to make a change? I know that it's not easy and it doesn't happen like
mhm.
that, but what do
Yeah.
you think it is? What is a driving force for you?
Yeah. And I would like to actually ask you to answer this question too, because I
Mm,
think that people are going to gain a lot. They've got a mindset coach on here and a lifestyle girl who changed her life and pivoted. But I think, the one thing that I always go back to all the time is I I was put on this earth to live my life for me. And yes, it's wonderful. We have husbands, we have kids, they're all extensions of ourselves we're creating. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I always feel like I am the Michelangelo of my circumstances, of my settings, of the life and the universe that I want to experience and create. And the minute that I feel, and this is how I felt about my weight coming into, hiring Poach Paul as a coach, um, I was sick of myself, and I was sick of the excuses that I was making to myself, and I was like, other people are doing this. There's nothing special about me, but surely if other people are doing it, I can do it too. And I think I've kind of carried that same philosophy and mentality into everything else. Like sometimes I just believe in life, we're so comfortable in accepting the status quo
Mhm.
that we don't create enough for ourselves. And like my key learning, I'm obsessed with psychology, and that's why I'm such a big fan of yours because I know you study psychology. But I'm obsessed with psychology and how the human mind works because 9 times out of 10, when people are feeling stuck, it's because we allow ourselves to be a victim of the circumstance. And
Right.
it's not a negative thing. It's not a negative thing. It happens. I mean, we don't know when it's happening.
Yeah.
The only way that we can ever change our circumstance is to always turn yourself into the creator and not the acceptor. And
Mm.
I think that's just my mentality in life in general. Like every time I come across something that scares me, I'm like this year, actually, Matt and I want to do a high rocks. I don't know if you know what high rocks is.
No, what is that?
Oh, it's devastating. It's the most the
It's so
most challenging.
exciting. It's
It's
so
so
exciting.
exciting, but it's okay. So in short, it's basically like functional fitness where it's a competition. It's run worldwide. They roll it out in different countries, and you would have
Okay.
to do an 8 kilometer run, but it's split into 8 1 kilometer runs. And then each
Okay.
station that you have to do, because it's all built for time. So each station that you have to do is then strength based or cardiovascular activity based. So you could do things like the ski erg, the rowing machine, and then you have to take a run and then come back and then do
Oh.
sled pulls and sled pushes. So they either let you do it in teams, or you can do it as a single, or you can do it as a couple, like a mixed
Hmm.
double, which is what Matt and I were thinking about doing. And it is so devastating, Danica, because when you're beginning something like this and you're experiencing what I would say is like a heart attack and a stroke simultaneously because you feel so unfit. And you just feel so stupid because what are we doing? We're doing walking and
What
we're
are
doing
we doing?
resistance training. Okay. This is our lifestyle. And then you get there and you're like, what am I actually really doing with my life? Like, this is crazy. So it's a competition that you have to train for an entire year. It's like an
Yes.
endurance race, and it's very difficult. But every time I feel these feelings of fear, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so afraid of this thing. I don't know how to run. And I'm just like, well, okay, lean into it. You're going to be
Mm.
absolutely terrible, putrid. You're going to look so stupid, but just you're going to get better. And you're going to do the reps and you're going to learn and you're
Yeah.
eventually going to build up the agility. And I
Yeah.
think everything in life is like that. Everything when
Mhm.
it's new feels awful, when it's like a shock to the system, but it's
Yeah.
just about creating then the space and the routine and, the joy that you want to see in it.
Yeah.
So I want to hear from you. Like, how do you get yourself unstuck?
I love your answer. Like, I want to put it on a billboard and like for everyone to see. Across,
Trademark that, please,
yes,
ma'am.
across all of the world, not just South Africa. But I'm excited for you in the High Rocks. I have to look that up myself. Because that sounds
Awful.
invigorating. It sounds awful
No,
and
awful.
invigorating at the same time. Um, what drives me? What a great question that I asked you.
Yeah,
Um,
amazing.
to be honest, I feel like from a young age, this is like a deep answer. So I feel like from
I'm
a
here for
very
it.
young age, I was surrounded by circumstances that I would look at the circumstances and be like, ooh, all of these happened because of choices made. And
Mm-hmm.
everyone had the opportunity for choice. And because of their choice, here are the circumstances that we are in. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and that really, I think, at a very young age, like I feel like I recognized that at like 4 years old, and would just see like, okay, when he does that, this is what happens.
Mm-hmm.
Roger that. I'm not going to do that because I don't like what just happened.
Yeah.
Um, and then being diagnosed with type 1 diabetes threw me for a loop because I was like, oh, wait a minute. not everything is in our control and we don't
Yeah.
know like what's going to happen. Like we all have power of choice and sometimes life just throws up like a curveball and we don't.
Hmm.
But I remember in that moment being like, ah, but I still have power of choice. So like I can choose to accept this and
Hmm.
I can choose to have it be a sidekick or I can choose to let it completely control me and ruin my life, right? So I feel like that has led me to a lot of things. Like whenever I find myself in a circumstance where I'm feeling I'm feeling misaligned inside. I'm always like, "Ooh, you have the
Hmm.
power of choice." Like, what are you
Hmm.
going to choose in this moment? Because every choice leads somewhere, right?
Yeah.
So, I think that that is what continues to drive me and I have a lot of internal conversation. Like,
Hmm.
I I speak to myself often and that has always helped me too because I feel that I needed that at a young age to be able to like know that I got my own back because yes,
Hmm.
I have support around me. Yes, like you said, we have everyone that's around us, but at the end of the day, like I put my head on that pillow and like I am with my thoughts and my choices and like what I'm doing for me, right? I'm
Hmm.
showing up for me. So I think like that has guided me to being able to have a strong internal dialogue and being able to course correct. There's been a lot of internal dialogue that has not been beneficial, but me being able
Yeah.
to be like, what are you doing? Like I lean strongly into internal family systems and being
Hmm.
able to recognize like this is the kingdom. We're going to have different like parts and roles inside of our kingdom. The one that's the worry wart, the one that's like the little devil on the side, the one that is like your cheerleader, the one that's the queen, like, or the king. I think that I've always recognized there are parts of me and I can increase their volume or decrease their volume. Again,
Yeah.
power of choice. So that's
Yeah.
something I've always also said. We get one goddamn life. One.
Hmm.
We get one body. I cannot trade
Yeah.
this in. I can't be like, just kidding. I think that Target's having a special and I'd like to just go get another body. I can't do that. So
Yeah.
with
I
this one
hear you.
body and with this one life, what am I going to do? What choices am I going to make for it? I'm not saying that every choice has to be perfect. I'm saying that, like, as long as you are aware that you have power of choice, it's a pretty
Yeah.
strong thing to lead you with. Yeah.
Yeah. And I love what you're saying actually, because there's a lot of acceptance that would happen at first and surrender. It's like, this is
Mm,
my circumstance, like what you were saying about being diagnosed.
yes.
Okay, fine. I know I have this thing. So I accept it. I surrender now, but also at the same time, whatever choice I'm going to make next, there's no right or wrong choice.
Yeah.
There's there's only living with it, and the
Right.
living with it, you have to be okay with that because it's
Right.
your life, right? So I love
Yeah.
that, and I think that's super realistic for anyone.
Yeah. Yeah. And you even said, like, becoming the victim of your circumstances. If I'm
Hmm.
being very blunt, girl, boy, like you became those circumstances. Like you got yourself in those circumstances. Like, yes, not
Hmm.
everything, like I didn't get myself in the circumstance of type 1 diabetes, but if I were to develop a complication from type 1 diabetes, I'm not going to blame it on the diagnosis. I'm going to blame it
Yeah.
on the choices that I made to bring me to that circumstance. So,
Yeah.
I think that like I am a big strong believer of like radical acceptance and
Hmm.
extreme ownership.
I love it.
Which is hard. Like that's hard to lean into and it's yucky and it's like uncomfortable and it means you have to like, face yourself. But or the option is that you don't and you like complain every day about where you're
Yeah.
at, right?
Yeah.
I'm not interested in that. Like I got too much worked up energy. So I
Hmm.
need to like, no, no, no. We're gonna move through
Yeah.
this. We're gonna move forward. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. And I think that like the radical acceptance part, particularly, especially if you're going to work with a coach,
Yes.
is super important to this process because I was thinking about like the most difficult part of accepting myself when I hired
Mm,
Paul as a coach all those years ago was I knew why I was overweight. I love
mm.
food, girl. I
I
love me
love
some
food.
food. I
Yes.
love me some food. And I was very, very good at actually not monitoring my nutrition. I was a binge eater. I
Mm,
loved alcohol. And if you look at my lifestyle now, completely different.
mm.
Completely, completely different. Why? Because I had to acknowledge that I was actually doing all of those things. I had to acknowledge that I looked the way that I did because I had made those decisions. So, and sometimes, yeah, life does happen like COVID, where everybody's activity levels were brought down because nobody could
Yeah.
walk outside, gyms were closed. Like, I get those things as well. But then it's like the radical acceptance has to kick in and like, what are we going to do about this? What
Yeah.
are we going to do?
Yeah. I think too, recognizing that like it's not easy when I have found, and I'm so happy like you have opened up about like these are the things that I had to face and these are the struggles that I went through. And like the same with me. It doesn't come automatically easy to have
Yeah,
radical acceptance or to be able to consciously pause and say, "Ooh, opportunity for choice. What one am I going to make?" Right? Like I think that
yeah.
it takes practice and it takes
Mm-hmm.
kind of training yourself to do so. And a reoccurring theme here is like being able to show up for yourself, like advocating for yourself, showing up for yourself in the moments that no one else is around you and it's just you and you having a conversation back and forth. Like, what is that conversation going to look like and where is it going to lead you to? It doesn't
Yeah.
come, I don't think that like we come out of the womb and we're born with that. I think it takes practice.
Yeah. And I think also a greater part of or component of it as well is being self-aware. Being
100%. Yeah.
self-aware. Like if you know yourself and you know your body, and I mean we're discussing anxiety now. Like
Hmm.
you know when you are experiencing anxiety in your body.
Yeah.
Okay? The first thing that we do is we don't trust ourselves when we're experiencing the thing that we know we're experiencing. We're feeling it, our
Yeah.
body is showing it, and we're kind of going, oh, I don't know what's wrong. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
such a
yeah.
it's such an interesting thing because even like if I think about just coaching in general, the one thing that I seem to keep finding myself like trying to tune into people's brains is listen to your body. You are
Mm,
adding all of these activities on top of your very, very busy and stressful life. You've got to find a way to make that work. So, yes, there's a lot of routine in that, and there's a lot of like planning that will go into that to figure
yeah.
out what is that perfect thing or perfect structure that you're looking for that's going to support you. But at the same time, we as human beings live in this fast-paced world where we've actually forgotten to check in with ourselves. We have forgotten to check
100%.
in with ourselves. And then we don't
Mm,
trust
yeah.
ourselves when we're checking in and we're feeling, oh, you know what, this doesn't feel right or this doesn't feel good. Why are we mistrusting ourselves on top of
Right.
that?
Right.
So it's that self-awareness as well of like just what you said in the beginning. I have to back myself. Yeah, I've got to back myself. I've got to
Yeah.
know what are my normal operating levels, what feels good, what doesn't. And if you're constantly operating in that place of alignment, I
Mm,
find that there's generally less stress. And the reason why most people are misaligned these days is because we are so busy and so stressed. The world is not what it looked like 20 years ago.
right.
So we're forgetting to check in with ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. That's gonna be our next podcast.
Oh, am I invited?
Yes, because I was just thinking, what a beautiful opportunity for us to kind of dive a little bit deeper into how do we check in with ourselves and
Yes.
what does that look like and how you and I have been able to navigate stress, navigate anxiety. When does it creep
Mhm.
in? What does that look like? And then how to check in with ourselves. I think like that's a beautiful podcast in itself.
Absolutely. I'm so down for that. And thank you for even thinking about it because I think like I must be honest, when I think about experiencing your energy and seeing the type of stuff that you do in your work right now with mindset coaching. I think it's so important for everyone to know that. I think it's
Mm,
so important for us to not take ourselves for, sorry, my husband turned the light on and
that was
now,
good. It was good.
yeah,
It was like a
thank you.
light.
Let's add some light to the
Yeah.
subject. Um, no, but I think that like what's super interesting for me is that in the work that you do, you're doing very similar work right now with your clients, right?
Hmm.
And the really difficult thing is sometimes we don't see things about ourselves that other people do. So
Mm,
you as a
yeah.
coach may be seeing someone is doing something really great in terms of their process right now, in terms of the work that they're doing. But they're so hard on themselves that they're focusing on the things that they're not doing and not
Yeah.
appreciating the things that they're doing really well. So I'm super excited to actually jump into that conversation with you because I think it
Yeah.
plays a role.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I think like there are so many takeaways from this conversation. And please, if like you guys are listening, watching, if you have any little topics that you want us to kind of tread off and have a whole episode on, because there was some big stuff. How she's gonna do the high rocks.
But the jury is still out. Hold on.
It's still out. Um, I love it though. Thank you so much for everything. Um, any final words that you want to give to our listeners?
No, I just want to say firstly, thank you to you for having me, but also, you know, the one thing that I'm learning in this life and just after everything that I've experienced and been through, back yourself.
Mm,
You know yourself better than anybody else in this
yeah,
world. And you must always, always trust yourself because you know your
yeah.
work ethic, you know what your body feels like, you know what you feel like when you feel good and you're operating
Hmm.
at a good level. And I think you should always fight for that quality of life. So whether it's about perimenopause, doing a fitness journey, whatever that looks like for you, always back yourself.
Yeah,
Always.
100%. I love it.
Me
Awesome.
too.
Well, thank you everyone for listening. We will make sure to have another one where Fatima and I are on. Until then, I hope everyone has a beautiful week.